at you that may never wash off. So I broke into business and stole it. And I stole stuff queers know about: antiques, art, jewels, electronics, of course. And I thought, well, I'm just Robin Hood, you know, stealing from the rich and giving to the worthy poor myself, of course. And I really made good money because I didn't fence that crap off for 10 cents on the dollar. What I did was I opened up an antique store in D.C. and paid the sheriff for non-notice. His name was Buford Pussy. You may have heard of him. But I was the most unarrestable thief in America and made a lot of money. I drove Jaguars, put on airs, and did all of that. It was great work. You don't work too much. The hours are strange because burglars work when nobody's around, and but the money was good. The only thing I didn't like about the profession was the retirement plan. I'm 21, 33, 98. I'm an inmate in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. I was sentenced to 160 years, 20 consecutive 8-year terms. Now, when you come to this place, sentenced to 160 years, you don't spend a lot of time worrying about how you're going to survive until you get out, because there ain't no getting out. Survival means, how do I live here? And so I gave that some thought, and I had that figured out about a week, 2 days. Then the next question is, how do you prosper? Well, I'm a gay guy, and I'm an openly gay guy from the headlines of the Houston Chronicle and Houston Post. $4 million burglary ring busted. Leader refuses to identify co-conspirators. Leader of local gay movement. Well, they told him I was queer, but, you know, prison's full of people that ain't stole $200 in their lifetime and actually got away with it. And here's this $4 million guy, and I ain't identifying any co-conspirators, so I'm a no-snitching guy. So, I mean, I was welcome when I got there. And so I became the consummate bureaucrat. Queers do that well, you know, they used to call us eunuchs. And so we can blend in and take advantage of the power that other people have and weld a little ourselves. So I started out as the bookkeeper in the maintenance department, and my job was to outfit crews and make sure they had everything they needed to fix prisons and keep them operated. And that made me a popular guy among all the people I got out of the cotton fields and got good jobs for. And then I was that for a few weeks, and then the guy from the construction department came by, Mr. Wyndham, and he said, "Oh, hell, my best bookkeeper just got caught pulling an officer out of his butthole over in the back of the shed, and so I had to run him and the officer off. You come over there and straighten my books out so somebody else can take over." But that job came with the keys to a pickup truck. So a guy doing 160 years with that, I ain't giving that job up. This ain't a temporary gig for me. But I built beautiful prisons. I visit prisons later, and they're still there, and they still are remarkable examples of what convicts can do with their hands. I got out of prison in 1975. I filed an 8th Amendment writ in federal court that didn't have a chance of anything, but we found a sucker federal judge that put my ass on the street, and I was scared to death. I was much more afraid of going to prison than I had, getting out of prison than I had been to going to prison. I knew I had to have structure in my life, so I signed up for a class load at the University of Houston downtown college. And I got Texas Rehabilitation Commission to pay tuition and books. And I went down there and I got into a class load, and as I'm registering, there's this spiral notebook paper on the wall. It said, "Join student government." And I said, "What does that cost?" He said, "Nothing. And I said, where do I sign up? And so I went over to the table where you signed up for that, and everybody was running for a Senate position and all this and that and the other. But nobody's running for president. So I signed up to run for president. Little did I know that there was an incumbent president that hadn't signed up yet, and so I had to come up with a campaign. My campaign slogan is "Give a convict a break." Well, that caught that student body's imagination, and Dr. Chiudon Boney, not the one that was on city council, but his father, who was an education thing, called me in his office and said, Mr. Hill, how is it that a man who's been out of prison less than 90 days is the president of my student body? And I said, well, Dr. Boney, some of us do politics better than others. And then I proceeded to fight with him for the whole 2 semesters that I was there. I didn't take any courses that I hadn't taken when I was a college bound and an activist, but I killed time and I got discipline back in my life. And my ego. You know, when you get out of prison, you ain't going to be nobody for this world. This prison number you see up here don't wash off. It says ex-convict on each cheek of my ass in case somehow they get separated. But little by little I gained confidence. What was going on in 1975 is there was a budding movement where nobody had heard of one before, called gay, lesbian rights.